So 2 days ago I just ended a week-long daily photography challenge. There was no particular rules. I just wanted to go out and shoot for at least an hour or so every day. I used a variety of lenses and I went out shooting at various times of the day. It was not exclusively street photography because at some point I also went for a hike and documented that with my photos. My intention with this video is to bring you along with me on that experiment. I'll tell you about my feelings, things that happened throughout this week of shooting, and by the second half I will also share about the lessons I learned or relearned along these 7 days of daily photography. So day 1 and 2 started in a pretty epic way because it was during these 2 days that the biggest typhoon of the year hit Japan, particularly the south part, including also Hiroshima. No big damages in Hiroshima, luckily. I made a full video talking about taking pictures and videos during the typhoon, so I will make it more quick here, and I invite you to check out this video if you're interested. I used my 35mm prime lens for day 1. It is the Sigma 1.4, and the 70-180 from Tamron on day 2, and both days I was out for roughly 1.5 hours shooting both photos and videos. Been only 2 days with just like 2 times 1 hour session, and I can already feel the positive sides of doing this because I discovered a new way to capture my B-roll, and with some new settings I tried yesterday and today, I can get 97% of the results and really reduce all the hassle. It makes it really simple. So I think that pretty soon I will make a full video talking exclusively about how I take my B-roll, and this new technique will be, of course, featured in the video like this. So I just completed day 3 and 4 of the challenge, and I will start talking about day 3 because it was a little bit less eventful than day 4, in a good way. You will understand why. Day 3 I went around the Peace Memorial Park with the 85mm. I started from about 3 o'clock until 5:30, but roughly 2 hours of actual street photography because at some point I stopped in a shop and had a quick break, and I can already feel the benefits from going out just with one camera and not with all the stuff with my GoPro and everything to shoot the POV. I'm really more thoughtful about my compositions and I'm more patient. I'm more willing to wait for my subject to come in the frame just as I wish, and overall I end up with maybe less images in my SD card at the end, but more quality images, I think. the end of this day, I was about to sit on a bench to have a quick snack, but I stumbled upon one of the most beautiful scenes I've witnessed for a long time, and I took time to capture it both in photos and videos, and I'm really happy with the result. Then the snack was even tastier. But now let's talk about day 4, which started in a pretty bad way. I wanted to go out in the morning. I planned to leave the house at 6:10, 6:15, something like this. And I was a bit in a rush to pack everything, and I managed to, I don't know how, to drop my camera, but luckily my A7IV looks to be perfectly fine. But my Tamron 28-75, so my standard zoom, which I use on a very regular basis, is broken, I think. I'm super angry about myself because I'm someone who takes care of his stuff and also take good care of my financials, and having to pay for something I already own technically is really something I don't like. I will see if I can do anything with the lens, if it can be repaired, or yeah, I have to check on that. That said, I mean, it's material, it's gear, no one has been hurt, so it's all fine. It's just that my wallet won't be happy about this, and yeah, it was not a really good way to start the day and this photo session, which with that event just happened, started really slowly, and my head was really focused and busy with how I will do with this lens. I was really not into the photo session, but luckily I stepped into like a really nice car, and it was a really good opportunity to practice a little bit my car photography. Because it was such a special car, I quite quickly switched my mind and my brain into this creative mode, and from this point on I managed to get over this bad thought I had and really get into this photo session, which ended up being quite good, I think. On day 5 I went out around noon, so you see I did not go out exclusively around golden hour, sunrise, sunset, and I wanted to expose myself to any light scenarios. I brought my 85mm and head out to Yokogawa, which is a pretty historical place in Hiroshima. The whole area around the train station is pretty special. There is a pretty old and retro looking Shotengai, you know, these kind of shopping streets you have in Japan that are often covered with a roof. A few days prior to that, I was actually out running around Yokogawa about the same time of the day, and I found the light quite interesting. I also noticed that there was a lot of good looking and stylish people, so I really wanted to capture that. Now I can see that I actually have less B-roll than the previous day, so I might have been really more focused on the photography, and yeah, I was actually pretty pleased with the results. Day 6 was a Friday and actually a public holiday in Japan, so we went to Miyajima with my girlfriend and we did a hike there. Wanting some versatility, I brought my 28-75, so the one I just broke, but I managed to take out the weather sealing gasket and now it's working okay, so not weather sealed anymore, but yeah, I have to figure out if I can get this repaired or replaced.
Welcome aboard the JR West.
What you can capture during a hike is pretty different from street photography, but I always think it's good to mix genre and do a little bit of everything, because there's so much you can learn from another type of photography and implement in the kind of photography you are more drawn to later on. And I actually do not categorize myself as a street photographer only. I like to capture moments, and those moments can be a beautiful landscape I witnessed during one of my travels, or some time with my family or friends, and of course some special moments you can see in the streets. And finally, day 7, I have to admit that I had to push through a little bit because the night before was a pretty long night out, so I was not in the better place physically and mentally speaking, but I commit to the challenge, so yeah, I had to. Going into this challenge, I was pretty curious about what kind of observations and lessons we can take of these 7 days of daily practice of photography. Outside of taking pictures, I have another passion, which is exercise, and more specifically, I really love anything about long-term health, and in that regard, I find Ritual podcasts to be so interesting. He brings many different guests to the show with all different backgrounds, so it's not only about exercise and health, it is sometimes also about neuroscience, creativity, or art. And the guy, Ritual, is a big advocate of this mindset that mood follows action. What it means is that you cannot think your way into the mood that you seek or desire to be in. Action will be the thing that triggers the change. Countless times I went for a run without feeling like it, and countless times I thought that there was no point to go out because of the weather conditions or the light being not great. But every time that I managed to ignore these excuses and I did go out, I was just so glad I did, because of how I felt in my body after a run or the pictures I got after going out to shoot. Photography is a bit more tricky because not every time you will come home with good pictures, but at least you took some fresh air, had a nice walk, and you actually practice, which will pay dividends in the long term. That said, I don't want you to believe that you have to commit to such a challenge to benefit from that, but if we are all more resilient and able to actually put away some excuses and put away some resistance we can feel before going out, 99% of the time we will come home with either some good results or good lesson we learned along the way. Another thing I noticed that I briefly touched upon already is that if I go out without my GoPro and all the necessary gear to make this POV photography video I often create, I have way more brain power that I can direct exclusively to photography and composing my shots. A GoPro is pretty straightforward to use, but still having it mounted onto your chest, and yeah, I just have to constantly check if it's still recording, if I still have some battery or space on the SD card, and that ultimately just distracts me from my photography. Not everyone is going out taking pictures with the goal of making a POV photography, so I hear you, but what we can take from that is that if you can remove any distractions, your phone, notifications, all that sort of stuff, you will end up being way more focused on photography. But yeah, I guess that was pretty obvious, right? And last but not least, taking pictures and videos every day for a week really made my camera an extension to my arm. I became more familiar with my settings, my shooting presets and all that, which in the end can make you a split second faster to be ready to take the shot or capture the video, and that can make the difference to actually get the decisive moments, I think. And now thinking about it, the challenge was not just 7 days, but 8 days. We had some family time and I could finally meet my girlfriend's sister newborn baby. It's been a long time since I did not capture these more family and intimate moments, but still with the daily practice and the momentum from this week of daily shooting, although being really different styles, it had a really good impact on me, and I was inspired and I ended up taking better photos and more impactful photos than I usually do. And when I put all these pictures in a nice set, I was able to create a better story than I ever was able before. I will end this video on that note, and I hope that you liked it and that you could take anything interesting from it. Already looking forward to see you in the next one. I'm out. Bye.